Star Wars Crosscurrent audiobook. Chapter 2. The Past. 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. Rowan and Drev sat in pensive silence as their infiltrators streaked through the churning blue tunnel of hyperspace. They watched their instrumentation intently, hoping for the telltale beep denoting detection of the hyperspace beacon secreted aboard Harbinger. Lingering silence would mean they'd lost sight. Scanners functioning normally, Drev said. After a sidelong glance at Relin, he began to hum, a free-form, lively tune from his homeworld. Must you? Relin asked, smiling despite himself as he adjusted the instrumentation. Yes, said Drev, also smiling, but without looking up from his instruments. I must. Relin admired his Padawan's ability to find joy in everything he did, though Relin thought, and taught, that it was more important to maintain emotional evenness. Extremes of emotion could lead to the dark side. Still, he wondered sometimes if Drev was the only one doing the learning in their relationship. It seemed Relin smiled only when in Drev's presence. Sace's betrayal had cut the mirth out of him as skillfully as a surgeon. Drev tapped the scanner screen with a thick finger. Come out, whither you hide. Presently, the scanner picked up a faint signal. Relin and Drev exhaled as one and leaned forward in their seats. Drev chuckled and put a finger on the scanner screen. There, they did it. Roland let the Navicomp digest the scanner's input and cross-reference the coordinates. The Phagon system. Without waiting for instruction, Drev pulled up the onboard computer's information on the system. There's nothing there, Drev said, eyeing the readout. What is he doing? Still looking, maybe, Roland said, and took the controls. We will know soon enough. The signal grew in strength as the infiltrator hurtled through hyperspace. He's in deep system, Rowan said. We emerged 10 light seconds out. Drev nodded and input the commands into the Navicomp. The system has 4 planets, each with multiple moons. An asteroid belt divides the third from the fourth. Use it as cover until we understand what SICE is doing. Deactivating the hyperdrive in 5, 4. Activating signature scrambler baffles, Rowan said. At the same moment, he used the Force to mask his and Drev's Force signatures, lest Sace preserve their arrival. 2, 1, Drev said and deactivated the hyperdrive. The blue tunnel of hyperspace gave way to the black void of stars, planets, and asteroids. Instantly, a wave of dark side energy, raw and jagged, saturated the ship. Unready for the assault, Rowan lost his breath, turned dizzy. Drev groaned, lurched back in his seat as if struck, then vomited down the front of his robes. Where is that coming from? Rev said between gritted teeth. Drev shook his head, still heaving. He reached for the scanner console. Leave it, Relin said, and adjusted the scanners himself. They showed nothing nearby but the spinning chaos of the asteroid belt, and Phagon 3 and its many moons. Relin took a moment to clear his head, then drew on the Force to shield them from the ambient dark side energy. With these defenses in place, he felt the energy as only a soft, unpleasant pressure in his mind, incessant raindrops thumping against his skull, but it no longer affected his senses. All right, he asked Drev. Drev cleared his throat, eyed his flight suit and robes in embarrassment. I am all right. Apologies, Master. Relin waved away the apology. He had been unprepared too. My meal tasted better the first time, Drev said, smiling, his cheeks bright red. Smelled better too, Relin said, chuckling as he pored over the scanner's output. So, it's vomit that loses your sense of humor, Drev said. He stripped off his robe, balled it up, and retook his seat. He took a gulp of a flavored protein drink in a plastic pouch, swished it around his mouth. I will keep that in mind. Maybe scatological humor will amuse you also? Relin only half smiled. His mind was on the situation. What had they stumbled onto? He never before experienced such a wash of pure dark side energy. Whatever size he was searching for, he must have found it in the Phagon system. Drev must have sensed his seriousness. What do you make of it? Drev asked. A dark side weapon? A Sith artifact, maybe? Relin shook his head. The energy was not intense, simply widespread. We will soon know. He engaged the ion drive and started to take them into the asteroid belt, but thought better of it. He took his hand from the controls. Take us in, Jeff, he said. He felt his Padawan's eyes on him. Into the belt? Rilla nodded. The infiltrator sensor scrambler and the churn to the asteroid belt would foil any scanners. Are you certain, Master? Still your mind, he said to his Padawan. Feel the Force. Trust it. Drev was one of the best raw pilots in the Order. With time and training in the use of the Force, he would become one of the Jedi's finest. Take us in, Rellin repeated. Drev stared out of the cockpit at the ocean of whirling rocks. He paused for a long, calming breath, then took the controls and piloted the infiltrator into the asteroid belt. He accelerated without hesitation, and the ship darted through the field of slowly spinning rock, diving, ascending, rolling. Pitted stones flashed on the view screen for a moment, vanished as Drev cruised under them, over them, around them. One of the infiltrator's wings caught an oblong asteroid, and the ship lurched, started to spin. Master, calm, Drev, Rellin said, and his Padawan zagged out of the way of another asteroid as he righted the starfighter. Well done, Padawan, Rellin said. Well done. A smile split Drev's face as he continued through the belt. Rellin monitored the sensors. There is an asteroid on the edge of the belt, more than 10 kilometers in diameter, in a very slow spin. I see it. Set us down there, but stay powered up. Let us see what we see. Drev maneuvered them over the asteroid and set down the infiltrator. Phagon 3 looked large in the view screen against a backdrop of stars. Drev was still smiling. Rellin chose to ignore his Padawan's emotional high. Give me a heads-up display magnify. A HUD appeared off-center in the cockpit window. Drev input a few commands and magnified the image. Plumes of smoke spiraled from the charred surface of one of Phagon's 3 small moons. Sace's dreadnought and its sister ship hung like carry-on birds in low orbit over the moon's corpse. A steady stream of transports moved between the moon's surface and the belly-slung landing bays of the 2 Sith ships. Drev lost his smile as he worked the scanners. That is not... How can... Master, that moon should be covered in vegetation. He looked up from his scan. And life. Rowan felt his Padawan's anger over the destruction. He knew where anger led. The young man moved from joy to rage as if his emotions were on a pendulum. Stay focused on our task, Drev. The scope of the matter cannot affect your thinking. Do not let anger cloud your mind. Drev stared at him as if he were something appalling he found on the bottom of his boot. The matter? It is not a mere matter. They incinerated an entire moon. It is an atrocity. Rowan nodded. The word fits, but you are a Jedi. Master your emotions. Especially now, Padawan. Drev stared at him a moment longer, then turning back to his scanners. When he spoke, his voice was stiff. There are hundreds of mining droids on the moon. More to himself than Drev, Rellin said, Sace incinerated the crust, then loosed the mining droids. He focused his force sense on the transports and their cargo. Though he had been ready, the dark side backlash elicited a gasp and sent him backward into his chair. It is the cargo. The cargo? What did he pull out of the moon? Rowan shook his head as he took the controls. I do not know. An ore of some kind, something attuned to the dark side. Rellin knew of such things. Whatever it is powerful. Maybe powerful enough to determine the outcome of the assault on Kirek. That's what Sace had been searching for, and that is why Sadao delayed his assault. We cannot allow it to get out of the system. You have a plan, I trust? Drev said, not so much a question as an assertion. We take those dreadnoughts out of the sky, or at least keep them here. Drev licked his lips, no doubt pondering the relative sizes of the infiltrator and the dreadnoughts, not unlike the relative difference between a blood fly and a rancor. How? Rowan lifted the infiltrator off the asteroid and flew it into open space. I'm going aboard. Sace and I should get reacquainted. He expected at least a chuckle from his Padawan, but Drev did not so much as smile. He stared out the view screen at the dead moon and the Sith ships, his lips fixed in a hard line. Rowan put a hand on his Padawan's shoulder and unharnessed himself from his seat. You have the controls. The scrambler and baffles will not keep us invisible for long. I just need a little time. Jev nodded as the infiltrator sped toward the dreadnoughts. You will have it. You'll try to board the transport? That is what I am thinking, Raylan answered as he moved to the cramped rear compartment of the infiltrator. Rapidly, he peeled off his robes and donned a vac-ready flex suit, formulating the details of the plan as he went. The rayon shell of the suit, lined with a flexible titanium mesh as fine as hair, felt like a second skin. He checked the oxygen supply and the batteries and found them both full. He slipped the power pack harness over his shoulders, around his abdomen, and clipped it in place. The power umbilical fed into the suit's abdominal jack with a satisfying click, and the suit hummed to life. The energy running through the mesh hardened the suit slightly and caused Roland's skin to tingle. He put the hinged helmet in place over his head, and an electromagnetic seal fixed it to the neck ring, rendering the zipper and power jack airtight. The suit ran a diagnostic, and Roland watched the results in the helmet's HUD. His breathing sounded loud in the drum of the transparent steel and plastic helmet. He activated the comlink. Testing. Clear, said Drev, his voice like a concert inside the helmet. The diagnostic came back clean. Suit is live and sealed, Roland said. We remain unnoticed, Drev said, his tone sharp, serious. For now. While Roland had been trying to encourage seriousness in his Padawan for months, at the moment he regretted to turn up Drev's mood. He missed his Padawan's mirth in the face of danger. To craft Drev into a Jedi, it seemed that Roland would have to turn him into something other than Drev. How close? Roland said. He slipped a dozen mag grenades and a variety of other equipment into one of the suit's ample thigh pockets, then strapped a blaster pistol to his belt, beside his lightsaber and its power pack. 20,000 kilometers and closing fast, Drev said. A hitch in his voice told Roland something was wrong. That moon, Master, it's a ruin. I know, Roland said. That is what Sith do. They destroy, they take. That is all the dark side can offer. Now focus, Padawan. Match vectors with the nearest transport returning to Harbinger, but only for a moment. I will board it, and that will get me into one of the Dreadnought's landing bays. He considered the grenades in his pockets. From there, I'll see what I can do. For a time, Drev said nothing, and, Are you sure this is the way, Master? If you succeed, that takes care of only one of the Dreadnoughts. That we may not accomplish everything is no reason to do nothing. We cannot let that cargo get to Carrick. Or at least not all of it. We should stop while we can here, doing whatever we must. If I destroy or disable the first ship, we'll figure out a way to do the same as the other. Understood. Entering the airlock, Rowan said. He opened an interior airlock door, stepped inside, and closed it behind him. He disengaged the safety and pressed the button to open the exterior door. A red light flashed for 3 seconds to indicate the pending evacuation. Rowan held the safety bar as the hatch slid open and the air rushed out into space. Coming up on the transport now, Master. Rowan moved to the open hatch as Drev eased the infiltrator over in the transport and matched his course and speed as best as he could. The awkward transport was a flying storage crate, a gray wedge of a hole with a transparent steel bubble cockpit tacked on to its underside. Like all Sith ships, it still managed to look like a flying blade. Dark side energy leaked from its cargo hold in palpable waves, making Roland temporarily dizzy. Master? They would be spotted in moments. He had to move. Have you ever gone angling, Drev? Roland asked. Angling? Fishing, you know. No, Master, I have not. Roland tried to smile, failed. That moment, he would have paid 1,000 credits to hear Drev's laugh. Neither have I. May the Force be with you, Master. Rowan picked a spot in the spine of his transport, closed his eyes, felt the Force. His mastery of the telekinetic use of the Force was not advanced enough to pull a moving ship to him, but that was not what he intended to do. A scanner has picked up our ship, Drev said, tension in his voice. Our usual encrypted channel, Drev, and minimal chatter. Yes, Master, and don't miss, Drev said and chuckled. Smiling, Rowan reached out with the Force, took mental hold of the Sith transport, and leapt out of the infiltrator into open space. I am clear, he said, and Jed peeled off. The present, 41.5 years after the Battle of Yavin. The screens from outside Jaden's window turned to laughter as an open-top speeder streaked past. He heard music booming from the speakers. The sounds faded as it flew away. It took a moment for him to understand what had occurred. Adolescence, he realized, probably on a late night thrill ride. Staying, he whispered, but he did not deactivate his lightsaber. Its hum filled the room, a comforting sound. The images from the vision remained sharp in his mind. The whir of R6's servos announced the droid's entrance into the room. Seeing Jaden standing in his nightclothes with his lightsaber burning, R6 cut short his beeped reading to whistle a concerned question. Jaden did not fully understand droid speak, but he usually got the gist of R6's communications. Or perhaps he assumed R6 said or asked whatever Jaden wished him to say or ask. I guess that makes you my confessor, he said to the astromech. Congratulations. R6 beeped the question again. Jaden smiled. Nothing, a bad joke. And I am fine. I had an unusual dream. But Jaden knew it had not been a dream. It had been a force vision. R6 hummed, understanding, and whistled out his first stanza of a lullaby. Jaden smiled at the droid, though his mind was still on the vision. He had never before had one so vivid. What had it meant? Dead Jedi and Sith resurrected, an icy moon in the unknown regions, a reign of evil, and the repeated cry for help. He could not make sense of what he had seen, so he tried to recall what he had felt, the uncomfortably familiar touch of the dark side, his increasingly attenuated connection to the light side. And, bridging the two, his master's words, the Force is a tool, neither light nor dark. How can that be? A tool? Nothing more than that. R6 beeped confusion. Jaden waved a hand distractedly. It cannot be, he said, answering his own question. The Force had been Jaden's moral compass for decades. Reducing it to a tool, mere potential, left him rudderless. He looked at his hand, the hand from which he had discharged Force lightning. There be dragons, he muttered, deactivating his lightsaber. R6 worded a question. I am trying to discern what the vision's meaning, but I am uncertain. He had been uncertain since the Battle of Center Point Station, though he had been struggling with doubt before that. His certainty had been one of the unrecorded casualties of the battle. He had done things he regretted. The Corellians had simply wanted their independence. In hindsight, Jaden saw the whole affair as a political matter unworthy of Jedi involvement. He had killed over politics. The Jedi Order had killed over politics. Where did that leave them as an order? How were they different from the Sith? Hadn't they used the light side to engage in morally questionable acts? And where did that leave Jaden? He felt soiled by his participation in the battle. Once we were guardians of the galaxy, he said to R6, and the droid stays wisely silent. Now the Jedi seem guardians of particular politicians. What principles do they stand for anymore? The Force is only a tool. He shook his head as he pulled on his robes. The Force had to be more than that. Otherwise, he had lived a lie for decades. His lightsaber was a tool. The Force was something more. It had to be. He feared the Jedi had come to think that because they used the light side of the Force, everything they did must therefore be good. Jaden saw that thinking is flawed, even dangerous. Since the battle for Centerpoint, he had isolated himself from the Order, from Valen, from Kyle. He felt purposeless and unwelcome. He thought his doubt must be plain to them all. He knew he would be transparent to the masters. He had no one with whom he could share his thoughts. No one but you, he said to R6. His blaster and the small one-handed hilt of his second lightsaber lay on his side table. He strapped on a holster, put the blaster to bed in it, and hooked his secondary saber to the clip of the small of his back. He did not know why he kept the old lightsaber, holding it close to him like a good luck charm. He supposed its blade was the purple tether that connected him to a simpler past. He had crafted the blade when the Force had been nothing to him but a word. He had possessed no wisdom, yet he had utilized the Force to build a blade. Didn't that mean that Kyle was right, that the Force was simply a tool, free-floating energy for anyone to use? No different from a loaded blaster? He shied away from the notion, because if it were true, then the light and dark side meant nothing in terms of moral and immoral, good and evil. I do not accept that, he said, R6. I cannot. Help us, help us. The voice from his vision echoed in his mind, reminded him of who and what he was. He had stood on a frozen dark moon in the unknown regions, communed with dead Jedi while evil had rained down, and someone had called to him for help. He would help. He must. Moral clarity lived in aid to others. He grabbed it like a lifeline. What you seek can be found in the black hole on Faust. The words were nonsense. There was no black hole on Faust, or anywhere near it. But he had to learn what the words meant, because that would allow him to find what he sought. R6. Link with the HoloNet. The droid whistled acquiescence and extended a wireless antenna and connected. Call out mapped and partially mapped sectors in the unknown regions, Jaden said. R6's projector showed three-dimensional images of various sectors in the air between the droid and Jaden. There were only a few. The information was woefully thin. Search for any charted system with a gas giant that appears blue to the human eye, ringed with at least one frozen moon whose atmosphere would support a human. R6's processors word through the information he pulled from the HoloNet. Holographic planets appeared and disappeared so quickly in the space between them that Jaden soon felt dizzy. In a quarter hour, R6 had shoveled through a catalog of thousands of planets. None squared with Jaden's vision. Jaden was unsurprised. Most of the unknown regions were unmapped on the Galactic Alliance star charts. The chips were out there. The remnants of the Yuzon Vong were out there. Who knew what else he would find in those uncharted systems? An answer, perhaps, he said. But first he had to form the question. First he had to articulate what he sought. He felt the thin edge of a blade under his feet, himself wobbling in it. He was off balance. R6 beeped a query. The Force had sent Jaden a vision. This he knew. He would follow it. Show me Faust, R6. The images of various systems in the unknown regions blinked out, gave way to a magnified view of a dusty world, one half in its sun's light, one half in darkness. He stared at the line separating the two hemispheres. It looked as thin as thread, as thin as the edge of the blade. Info on Faust, he said, and R6 scrolled the readout of the planet in the air before Jane's eyes. What little information existed was more than 3 decades old and came from an Imperial survey team. Faust was the only world in the system occupied by sentients, though none was native, and its itinerant population wouldn't have filled a sports stadium on Coruscant. Its largest population center, Farpoint, had been built on the ruins of a crashed starship of an unknown origin. Jaden imagined that the place to be a haven for adventurers, criminals, and other undesirables who preferred to live at the edge of known space. All of them crowded into ad hoc shelters built on the bones of a derelict ship. But Faust was his only lead. If he credited the Force vision at all, how could he not? He would have to follow it to his answer. Get the Z-95 ready and prepared a course to Faust, he said to the droid. He paused and added, and do not file a flight plan with the order. R6 beeped a mildly alarmed tone. Do as I ask, R6. The droid roared agreement and wheeled out of the room. Whatever the vision wished to teach him, it would teach to him. He did not want the other Jedi involved. He did not even want the Order to know where he'd gone. This was to be his lesson, and his alone. He would find what he sought. He had his question answered for himself. Darth Warlock, Kel said as he turned. The honorific came with difficulty to his lips. Both Warlock and Crate had adopted a title once carried by beings of greater stature. The Chagrian Sith Lord's mouth formed a tight smile, as if he sensed the meat of Kel's thoughts. Warlock stood as tall as Kel, and the left horn on his head extended half a meter more. The right horn, lost some time ago to accident or battle, was a jagged stump only a few centimeters old. To Kel, it looked like a rotted tooth. The line of a scar extended the length of the Chagrian's face, a seam connecting the ruined horn to the corner of his mouth. Warlock's robe, as black as the singularity and soaked with rain, hung heavily from his broad shoulders. The hilt of a lightsaber at his belt peeked out from under the folds. Kel imagined the insight he could gain by devouring a soup so rich as Warlock's. A cyclone of Danosi rolled around the Chagrians. The features in Kel's cheeks squirmed reflexively. And that, the Sith said with a faint nod. The droid led me to believe I might see Darth Crate himself. The message I received purported to come from him. Warlock's eyes never left Kel's. The Master walks in dreams. This you know, Keldoro. What you achieve only when feeding, he achieves at will. Past, present, and future are as one to him. Therefore, I am his voice while he sleeps. This too you know. Kel tilted his head as if to acknowledge the point, but he knew better. What he experienced while feeding could be experienced only to him. The Sith, like the Jedi, conceptualized the galaxy through the lens of the Force. But Kel knew the Force to be but one aspect of the greater skein of fate. Neither the Sith nor the Jedi saw reality's truth. Kel would, when he fed on the one whose soup had revelation. So you say, Darth Warlock. So I say, Warlock said, again the smile, as if he could read Kel's mind. Thunder rumbled. Kel felt others in the darkness around them. More Sith. Servants of Warlock. Naga said I walk this ground, Warlock said, his clawed hand gesturing to the brick walkway, and Exar Kun after him. Then, no crippling rule of two limited the power of the Sith. Wisely, Darth Crades undone the mistake of Bane. Therefore, no rule of two limits the one Sith today. Kel said nothing. He cared little for the intricacies of the Sith religion, and the Chagrin's incessant use of the therefore drove Kel to distraction. Why have I been summoned? Kel asked. Warlock took a step closer to Kel. The Sith around them in the darkness drew closer. 2. Kel felt as if he were standing in the middle of a tightening knot. He muffled his presence, quelling his Dane-nosy reflecting perception. Between his psychic camouflage and his mimetic suit, he would be nearly invisible to those around him. Warlock blinked, looked past and through him for a moment, before his eyes refocused on Kel's. Clever, Anzat, he gestured with his chin out into his darkness, causing the Lethorns to sway, but they will not harm you except at my command. Therefore, you have nothing to fear. Kel nodded, but nevertheless maintained his psychic deflection. The opportunity has been revealed to the Master, Warlock said, and took another step closer. Kel held his ground while lightning lit up the sky. What kind of opportunity? I will show you, Warlock said, and offered his fanged smile. Concentration furrowed Warlock's brow. Their Dane-nosy had intertwined. An itch formed behind Kel's eyes, and a stabbing pain. He screamed as images exploded in his mind. An icebound moon in orbit around a blue-green gas giant. A night sky exploding in a rain of power. He clutched his hands and sagged as the images burned themselves into his memory. He lost control of his muscles, and his features emerged from his face, squirmed like cut power conduits. Fighting through the pain, he wrapped his fingers around one of his vibroblades, drew it. The mental intrusion ceased, as did the pain. He snarled, brandished his blade, drew its twin. Warlock made no move for his lightsaber. He stared into Kel's eyes. I do not require a lightsaber to kill you. Therefore, an attack will be foolish. Are you foolish, Keldoro? Kel considered, calmed himself, and sheathed his blades. What is the meaning of the vision? The Chagrin gave his false smile. That is what you will determine. The vision portends something important, Anzat, and the Master has concluded that it will begin on Faust. There, a sign will be given to you. Perhaps even the sign you have long sought. Kel tried to hide the excitement birthed by Warlock's words. He imagined lines of fate coalescing around Faust, catching it up in the net of destiny. I know its location. You will, therefore, travel there. Watch for the sign. Learn what there is to learn. And perhaps take what there is to take. Kel rubbed his eyes as if erasing them of the remembrance of pain. Why me? He gestured out in the darkness. Why not one of them? Because it is the Master's will that the one Sith remain quiescent. Therefore, we must use intermediaries. Kel had enough of Warlock's therefores. To whom shall I report what I learned? You will report back to me, Warlock said. He frowned as if struck with a thought and said, The Master believes it likely that the Jedi have received a similar vision. The Force is moving in this matter. They may therefore interfere. You should not allow interference. Kel put his hands on the hilts of his blades. I understand. What form will the sign take? Warlock shrugged. The master believes you will know it when you see it. He believes in your ingenuity and your desire to find the one that you seek. Kale licked his lips, knowing he would get nothing more, though he had been given precious little. Is that all, then? Warlock held out his hands as if to show himself harmless. You are free to go. Kale backed away from Warlock, down the stairs, and toward his ship. He checked his chrono as he walked. He had last fed only half a standard hour earlier, yet he felt the need to feed again, to recapture the certainty that feeding brought him. Warlock's words had poked holes in that certainty. They always did. The chagrin fit left him ill at ease. From behind, Warlock called out above the rain, Why do you serve the Master Keldoro? The question confused Kel, halted his steps. He shook his head, his mind suddenly jumbled, his thoughts choked. What? What'd you say? Consider the answer to that question, Anzat. Kel could see the chagrin's fangs bared in a smile, even though the rain and there was nothing false in it. Then consider anew who sees reality's truths. You are not the only one who can shape perception. Thunder boomed, lightning ripped the sky. Kale shook his head to clear it. He started to answer Warlock, but saw that he had gone. His head felt muddled. A headache nested at the root of his skull. Out of habit, he checked his chrono again. He had lost a quarter of a standard hour since he checked it moments ago. He had no idea how.